Good morning, everyone at Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. Welcome to our digital virtual space this morning. We're so glad you're joining us. My name is James Harper. Hope you all are staying out of the heat. And let's just kick the service off, shall we? Me and all my friends, we're all misunderstood. They say we stand for nothing and there's no way we ever could. Now we see everything that's going wrong with the world and those who lead it. We feel like we don't have the means to rise above and beat it, so we keep on waiting, waiting on the world to change. Now we keep on waiting on the world to change. It's hard to beat the system, we're standing at a distance, so we keep on waiting on the world to change. Now if we had the power to bring our neighbors home from war, would have never missed a Christmas, no more ribbons on the door. When we trust with television, what we get is what we got. When they own the information, oh, they can bend it all they want. That's why we're waiting on the world to change. And oh, we keep on waiting on the world to change. It's not that we don't care, we just know that the fight ain't fair, so we keep on waiting on the world to change. Hey. Say that's why we're waiting on the world to change. And oh, we keep on waiting on the world to change. It's not that we don't care, we just know that the fight ain't fair, so we keep on waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change. Waiting on the world to change.
What a great way to welcome us in this morning, Mr. James Harper.
Thank you.
Good morning to you.
Good morning. It's great to be joining you 2 weeks in a row. I'm pretty stoked on it.
I know it's a wonderful experience to have you with us. Our congregation and community just loves to have you and your melodies and your song and your talent, but most important, your light that you bring with us. So thank you. And I love that song because it certainly prompts us to look at life from a new perspective, right? Are we going to sit back and wait for the world to change? Or as the great Mahatma Gandhi is given credit for saying, be the change that you desire to experience in the world.
Amen to that, the exact message. That's
exactly. Awesome. So today, let's come together for the hour or so that we're together and open ourselves up to look at both waiting for the world to change and what role that we play in that.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Me too. So let's all acknowledge James Harper as being our music director and guest artist today. And he'll be back with us throughout our service, blessing us not only with his talent and sharing his light, but leading us in some music to sing along together. So great to have you here, James.
Great to be here.
See you in a bit. Good morning to all of you. I'm Reverend Dr. Keith Cox, spiritual leader here at the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and welcome, as James said earlier, to our virtual space of community. If you're joining us through Zoom and or Facebook, a big hello and welcome live to you this morning from wherever on this planet or beyond that you may be joining us, and a big hello and welcome to those of you that watch us later on our YouTube channel. We come together on Sunday mornings, as we have for a little over 30 years here as a community, to take a moment and to honor that power, that presence, that thing that lives within each one of us. That is the source, the power of life itself. And that we both experience and express it through our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions and our reactions and our interactions with the very thing itself. As a organization, as a community, we practice primarily the teachings of Dr. Ernest Holmes, who created and wrote and published a book that was a collective, if you will, of all the great wisdom teachings of the world at the time, and condensed those down into a very concise, and yet if one were to read the book and practice the teaching, it may not necessarily be so concise. It is kind. But I do believe that it is very crystallized in its essence, which is there's only one power in the universe. We call it God. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter what you call it. But that we both experience and express this power as individualized expressions of it, of the one thing that it is, through our thoughts and actions and reactions and interactions with it itself. We do this because we live in a universe that is governed by spiritual law. In other words, the very things that we think and act and react and interact on develops a state of mind, and the universe responds to that in the only way that it can, by corresponding. Many of us have heard this from a variety of different ways, and it's taught throughout these great wisdom traditions and teachings of the universe. In our philosophy and faith and way of life, the entire essence of what we do here is to remind everyone to pay attention to how you show up and to be very clear to the best of your ability on an ongoing basis what it is that you believe about yourself in regards to the worthiness of good in your life, and then to give it and to give it and to give it. And so we're going to continue the opening of our service right now by tapping into the PowerPoint/keynote presentation that I have for us. It's been a couple of Sundays since we have done a keynote Sunday, and today's going to be one of those. So let me get them up and ready, and here we go. And so, as I stated, we are a community known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, and have come together for well over 30 years now to honor that power that exists within each and every one of you. We kick off our service on Sunday mornings with the act of Namaste. I invite you to do that with me. It's a Sanskrit experience, and it's placing your hands together on your chest in prayer position, taking those and raising them to the third eye, that center between our eyes, that gives us the ability to be intuitive, bringing them back down to our heart, opening them up and saying together, the spirit within me salutes and honors the spirit within you. Namaste. And so we've come together, not only today, but as we always have done, to welcome all races, all religions, all countries of origins, all sexual orientations, all genders, and all abilities of life. For we stand with you in this very safe space of life itself. Granted, we can't do that hand to hand, shoulder to shoulder, heart to heart right now physically, but we can do that in our mind's eye. We can do that by setting the intention to know that in this collective, as we come together today, that there's great power. We know that there are great powers in numbers, and there's great powers in numbers in the way that we show up through our thoughts, because we're all interconnected with and as this one power known as the mind of the divine. And so today I invite you to look at the screen today and the diversity of life that expressed on that screen, and then begin to bring into your mind's eye individuals that you know or may not know but have experienced in your life that represent the inclusivity of these individuals on the screen and beyond. And let's affirm out loud, as our founding minister would say each and every Sunday morning, we welcome one and we welcome all. And so we open our service in the next phase every Sunday morning with a ritual. That ritual is called Calling in the Light. And I so clunkily put some music on for us to listen to. Let's move into our ritual. And I actually don't like that music. I thought I would, so I'm going to change it back to our original music. So let me get to that. I had it all prepped and ready and thought I was ready for that new music, and it's just a little too chaotic. And so here's our original music. The great piano music called Somewhere in the Silence by Donna Michael. And so the ritual of calling in the light. The purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of our oneness. and the qualities that we possess as complete expressions of the divine. And so today we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples and all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call spirit. Fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here today. As we look into the flickering flame of the candle on the screen, I'm going to take us through the ritual of calling in the light through the flames of faith, and we're going to acknowledge this illuminated candle, honoring those faith traditions of the world. And so the first that we look at the flickering of flame is for the Tao, honoring the universal path of equilibrium and harmony, that which is known as the natural way. I invite you to bring into your mind's eye an individual that practices this along with each of the other faiths that I acknowledge during this ritual. We collectively light this candle and illuminate it for the shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We continue with this light that we call in for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge and action and devotion. We continue to call in the light for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. Expanding on this, we bring in and honor all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. Building on that, we call in the light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness, which is also known as the path of love. Continuing to call in the light and to bring forth into our mind's eye individuals who practice this faith. It's for Islam. Islam, which honors the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. Continuing to call in the light and to honor individuals through our imagination. We do so for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and of peace. And we close out this flames of faith, if you will, by honoring all forms of new thought, that which we practice here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Los Angeles. Honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practices of universal spiritual principles. And as we continue to look at this flickering flame, let's begin to see it as the healing candle. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind, says healing is revealing of the oneness, the connection, the interconnectedness that we all have with all sentient beings. And so as we focus on this healing candle, let's take a moment and think of anyone that we'd like to silently put into the light of the healing flame. I'd like for us to include Reverend Lenore Edney and David Bowman as they honor the transition of David's father. And as we place these individuals into the light of the healing flame, let's affirm and know together that they experience through this process the eternal and everlasting love of the divine. And we each begin to experience this love by acknowledging this prayer on the screen called Change Me Prayer. And it reads, Dearly Divine Beloved, change me into someone who can give with complete ease and abundance, knowing that you are the unlimited source of all. Let me be an easy, open conduit for your prosperity, and let me trust that all my own needs are always met in amazing ways, and that it is safe to give freely of my heart and as my heart guides me. And equally, please change me into someone who can feel wildly open to receiving. And let me know my own value, beauty, and worthiness without question. And let me allow others the supreme pleasure of giving to me. And let me feel worthy to receive in every possible way. For I am you and you are me, for we are one. And all is well. All is well. Such powerful words. And so for us to experience more of this wellness, James will come onto the screen and take us through the final part of this ritual, singing together the song, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and let it begin with me. The lyrics will be on the screen.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my solemn vow. To take each moment and live each moment with peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And I affirm for each of us, peace indeed is unfolding. The Change Me prayer that was stated is in action by means of each one of us. And we see life anew as we honor this act of renewal. And so it is.
So it is.
Oh, how beautiful. What a beautiful rendition of the Let There Be Peace on Earth song there, James.
Thank you.
So beautiful. Yeah. So James, your first, the next song, how about that you're going to sing for us, is titled what?
It's titled Heart of Life, and it really has a new meaning every time that I sing it. It's really choosing to find the good and see the good despite maybe what's going on around you, and how bad things might get or bleak.
I love it. Well, take it away.
Here it goes. I hate to see you cry, lying there in that position. There's things you need to hear, so turn off your tears and listen. Pain throws your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should. I know the heart of life is good. You know it's nothing new. Bad news never had good timing. But then the circle of your friends will defend the silver lining. Pain throws your heart to the ground. Love turns the whole thing around. No, it won't all go the way it should. I know the heart of life is good. And pain throws your heart to the ground, and love turns the whole thing around. Fear is a friend who's misunderstood. I know the heart of life is good. No, it won't all go the way it should, but I know the heart of life is good.
What a great affirmation. I know that the heart of life is good, right?
We need a reminder of that every
We
day.
do. We do. That all comes down to just remembering who we are and what life is all about. And when we say, I don't know if life goes the way it should, that means that we're operating from that perspective of delusion that we're creating it, right?
Truth.
Cool. Well,
Preach.
I will build on that tune and those lyrics in my message this morning. So thank you for that, James.
Wonderful. See y'all shortly.
See you in a bit. Yes. So, what a great segue of knowing that the heart of life is good. This morning, as I often do on Sunday mornings, I get up really early and prepare, and then I disconnect, which I think is so important for all of us to release our attachment from what's going on. And usually, I'll throw on some music or I'll throw on the television. This morning, I was watching the service from the Bel Air Presbyterian Church, and I love it because it's a very progressive Christian-based church. But the gentleman that was being interviewed was talking just about that, of how as we go through the journey of life itself, that things show up. And so the intention that we set, the prescription that we have for the journey, if you will, we get curveballs thrown at us. And those curveballs come from a myriad of different places. And the key to it is how do we respond to those? And that's what I'm going to talk about today as we continue on our journey of the month of August. I'm going to begin by reading a quote or an affirmation that I ended with last week before I share our multimedia for today. And it is this: I choose to live by choice, not by chance, to make changes, not excuses, to be motivated and not manipulated, to be useful, not used. I choose self-esteem. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity, to listen to my inner voice, not the random opinion of others. How important for us to be willing to listen to our inner voice. That requires us to be both aware that it's there and to lean on it as we continue to step into the new expression of our life every single day. I love this graphic that shows that old life is that direction, new life is that direction. And so often we think that that is only a result of some life altering or some fantastic event in our life, some benchmark, if you will. But yet the truth is, life is constantly new for us because we're constantly interacting with this creative power itself. And we experience life relative to our consciousness, old school metaphysics. Old school metaphysics. There, I'll say it in a way that I can. And so it's important for us to remember that as we have all not only tuned into, but made a deep covenant and commitment to be conscious metaphysicians on this path, that oftentimes it is the old school metaphysics that's so important for us to lean into as we continue on our journey of life. It's hard to believe for me, and I'm sure it is for you as well, that we're 7.5 months into the calendar year 2021. Life seems to be flying by. And yet, life is just doing its thing, right? The life that we're leading and living knows not by a calendar. It knows not by dates. It knows not by time. It's just that rhythm of creation. And so you and I have the opportunity today to take a metaphorical step back and ask ourselves, are we living life through conscious evolution, a new vision for our future? I was also listening this morning as I was getting ready to a conversation that was taking place on the George Stephanopoulos show, and they were talking about climate change and the role that we can all play. That's just one facet of where you and I have the opportunity to choose to engage with life and the effects of life as a result of how we tune into our thinking in a new way. It's my goal and my intention today to prompt us to do that, to look at it in a new way as we continue our theme for August 2021, the God Days of Summer. Now, last week I took the liberty to talk about the dog days of summer and how they came about, and for us to make a choice to not live in that state of oppression or apathy or fear or darkness, but to tap into the God days of summer. And so as we relax and stop and look and listen and ride that rhythm of life, it doesn't mean that we are to turn off or tune out the role that we're playing as co-creators in the life that we desire to experience. And the only way that we can do that is by tuning into the very thing that we know and know ourselves to know and what we choose to express. I want to share these lyrics from the song I Can Go the Distance, because that's really what we're doing, is going the distance of our conscious evolution, going the distance of our spiritual awakening, going the distance of our life. And the lyrics go as this. I've often dreamed of a far-off place where a hero's welcome would be waiting for me, where the crowds would cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be. I'll be there someday. I can go the distance. I will find my way if I can be strong. I know every mile would be worth my while. When I go the distance, I'll be right where I belong. Down an unknown road to embrace my fate. Though that road may wander, it'll lead me to you. And 1,000 years would be worth the wait. It might take a lifetime, but somehow, I'll see it through. One way to perceive these is that it's about putting off our good, but I look at this more of, it's this balance of dreaming about the journey of life and the experience that we have when we accomplish or attain our spiritual awakening, while at the same time understanding that that voice within us is saying, this is where we're meant to be right now on this journey. I can go the distance, and I deeply have within me the strength that is required to stay on this journey of my awakening. And what is required of me as I continue to awaken to a greater understanding and awareness and acceptance of who I am as a divine being requires me to go down an unknown road. And even though that road may wander, it'll lead me to you, that power, that presence, that thing within us. And it will see us through. No matter what life has thrown at us or what it may throw at us, others have been through this concept of leaning into this power that'll see us through. I love this quote from Harriet Tubman that said, I said to the Lord, I'm going to hold steady on to you and know you'll see me through. Imagine, no matter what you and I may be going through in our life today, whether it's a personal thing in life or just our personal reaction and perspective on what's going on in the greater good and or not so good, as we may label it, in the world. Let's attempt to look at it through the lens of Harriet Tubman and the brothers and sisters that she worked to help them gain their freedom. That you and I have life quite good today. And so let's build upon that good today to experience and express even more good. To not let the circumstances and conditions of life itself hinder us or prevent us from having more and more good/God in our life. Let's all remember that we're all on this journey of finding our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, the vision statement for our beloved community. To ask yourself today, where are you? Not only on the journey, but how personally self-empowered are you feeling? And are you committed to this ongoing practice of a spiritual awakening? I know personally for myself, there are moments where I think, oh, Jesus, another day. And yet, what I teach so often, you all know, is I get to stop and reframe that and go, whoa, Jesus, it's a new day. Not some dude that was hung on the cross that performed miracles, but that Christ power that exists within you and within me. It's that power that when we tune and know that I am, that I am, that I am, that there is nothing within us that we can't navigate and move through and have a spiritual awakening on the journey. Well, what is a spiritual awakening? I love this little framework of what a spiritual awakening is. It's this. To spiritually awaken is to remember that who and what you are and have always been is the infinite, immortal sea of consciousness, one with all that exists, not as an intellectual understanding, but as a real and tangible experience and lifestyle. When was the last time you had that experience of where you knew, not intellectually, but you knew deep within your soul and remembered deep within your soul that you are an infinite, immortal sea of consciousness, one with all that exists. And that it's a real and tangible experience and lifestyle. Today, I'm calling us to look at the tools that we have at our disposal to step into this experience. One that I love so much from this teaching, and I know many of you do, and oftentimes people think we've forgotten it, but we haven't, is the great gift that Dr. Ernest Holmes gave us called spiritual mind treatment. I know for myself, and I know for many of you, it's through this act of spiritual mind treatment that the trajectory of my life changed, as I know it has for you. And so today I want us to look at this as a modern approach to the act of prayer. In its traditional sense, spiritual mind treatment is defined as an affirmative prayer or a 5-step prayer in which we turn within and tune into the infinite loving presence that we call God. That is not only right inside us, but it is that sea of consciousness. I know personally for myself, when I first heard spiritual mind treatment, my history had been, and yours may have been a herstory or non-gender specific story, of prayer being an act of supplication, of asking and begging and hoping that life would be different. And yet when I awakened and was awakened to this philosophy, faith, way in life known as the science of mind, and this great tool called spiritual mind treatment, an act of affirmation, an act of declaration, and an act of alignment. I looked at it one of the most mystical, magical things that existed. And the truth is, it is one of those mystical, magical things that exist. But it's important for you and I to know that it's not mystical and magical in its nature. The mystical and magical and transformational part is the way that you and I tune into it and use our beliefs, use our mind, use our faith in regards to it. And so I'm going to take us through the steps of spiritual mind treatment in this modern way that it's on the screen and look at it through as a 5-step treatment in the blue circle. The first step is called recognition. It's where we affirm out loud that there is only one power, one presence, one infinite and ever-present spirit, that sea of consciousness. So I invite you to hear that anew today, to be reminded of that spiritual truth that there is only one. And then it's important for us to recognize this one that permeates everything. It's one force encompassing all creation, one energy from which all things are made. This one presence is our source, the source. Ernest Holmes also refers to it as the thing itself. The second step is the yellow circle called unification, and it's the awareness and the remembrance that I am one with this infinite spirit of good that expresses in, as, and through me, for I am an individualized expression of the one. Imagine yourself hearkening back to the first time you heard this, and if that's today, fantastic. But if we can hearken back to the first time we heard that I am one with this infinite spirit of good / God that expresses in, as, and through me, For I'm an individualized expression of this one power, one present, one infinite, ever-present source. And then look at the journey you've been on since then. The journey of the very good that's being acknowledged in the statement. What a journey, right? So let's commit today to continue using this philosophy, faith, and way of life and this great tool, spiritual mind treatment, in a way to not only transform ourselves, but transform the world that we live in. Which then takes us to the third step of this treatment, which is realization. It's that I know that my good is already here. I feel it and accept it as mine. Knowing that I am worthy to receive it and deserving of this good in my life, I open my arms to embrace this blessing more and more. Step 1, God is. Step 2, I am. Step 3, it is. Step 4 is an amalgamation of all of that, as you see, where the colors overlap. Moves us to step 4 of thank you. I am grateful and I give thanks and thank you, God, that infinite power, not a personal, idealized guy in the sky, but an infinite source of good that is impersonal by nature. And once we use these 5 steps of God is, I am, it is, and I'll develop on that in a moment, then thank you leads us to release, letting go, and letting this creative force of life do its thing through us, which is what it's always doing. I release, the great Ricky Byers Beckwith song of I release and I let go, I let spirit run my life. For I'm only here for God, and especially during the God days of summer. But when you hear that statement of I'm only here for God, what does it mean to you? Are you ready, willing, and able to let go of any old ideology, any old ideation around that power, no matter how evolved you may feel yourself to be as a metaphysician, but just let go of that and open up to a new idea today of the power itself. The power itself, for God is. I know for me personally, I become more and more in tune with this nature of God is in a new way every day. I give myself the instruction and the intention to open myself up to see it anew, to be aware of it anew, to begin to believe that I am it, not in a state of arrogance, not in a state of equality to it, but in a state of connectedness, of a state of awareness, of a state of an opportunity to use the very thing itself in me, as me, through me, to propagate not just an acceptance, but an identity that then gives me solace and calm and peace and power and self-acceptance. It's important for us to remember that, as the great philosopher, faith, and poet Rumi says, you're not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. I know that we've all heard this before, and I invite us to hear it anew today, for it was my new thought for the day text yesterday, that you're not a drop in the ocean, you're the entire ocean in a drop. This new thought has had such impact on me over the years, and it's a reminder of the power that we each have within us and at our disposal. Today I want us to expand our mind to this power and what we have within us and our disposal to it, to remember that yes, we already have everything we need within us right now. But what good is that doing us if we're not using it in a new way? What good is it doing us if we're not expanding our thinking? What good is it doing us if we're not giving of it in a new way? Many would say that these 2 steps are all that matters in this great tool called spiritual mind treatment. And they certainly are all that matters. I don't know that all that matters. They certainly are the 2 most important components of this tool called spiritual mind treatment. And if you look at the work of David Hawkins, when one evolves into the highest framework of mind possible, really at that point, that is all that matters. But yet we're not there, all of us. And so it's important for us to get clear on the importance of being clear of what it is that we desire to experience in our life. And many new Thoughtonians came into this teaching thinking that the most important part of this spiritual mind treatment tool was the third part. But let's remember that the biggest idea is the first and second on our journey to spiritual awakening, because until we really know that God is and I am, the other will not matter. Because if we approach the God is and I am component in a state of supplication, we're back to the old school thinking. We're still asking God to provide for us when God has already provided it within us, giving us the power of mind to declare a state of mind that it is in alignment with our good. Therefore, our role once we do that is to release and let go and be ready to embrace our good because it's already in play. Remember, spiritual awakening is to remember who and what we are and who we've always been, and that we are this infinite, immortal sea of consciousness in action, and we're one with all that exists. This is step 3 coming into play, not as an intellectual understanding, but as a real and tangible experience and lifestyle. God is, I am, it is. It is what? Well, it's well with my soul, meaning that the very thing that we desire to experience is already within our soul, the housing of our spirit where we tune into our mind. And so when we tune into the desired experience, it's important for us to remember it's not about getting things, it's about giving our divinity in a new way. It's about remembering that the very thing that we desire to experience, is already in play. Why? Because God is the absolute subjectivity that underlies existence and the capacity for awareness. The thing itself, God, is beyond all time, place, or human characteristics. So when you and I desire to experience something new, what's important for us to remember is that the good that we desire already exists. I want to share a quick story with you. The other day I was about to head out on a walk with Sweeney, and earlier in the week I had been reflecting on love that exists in the universe and romantic love. And you hear me oftentimes talk about the agape love. Rarely do we talk of the eros love, the human love, that connected love. And I made the decision that I'm ready for there to be more of that in my life personally. Ready to go on some old school dates, even if I have to put a mask on my face when I do it. And as I'm getting ready to walk out the door to take my beloved four-legged spiritual offspring, Sweeney, and you all know I love to call her that, I put my debit card in my pocket because I was going to make a pit stop to pick up some food for dinner for some friends that were coming on later. And as I went to put it in my pocket, my intuition said, do not do that. And yet, what did I do? Put it in my pocket and walked away. We're out on our walk and several things encountered, and we'd gotten to the destination for her water at the water fountain and drank the water and engaged with some tourists that were here and turned to walk away. As I'm turning to walk away and I get to the third block, I reach in my pocket and what is missing? The debit card, of course. And I was like, Spirit, the God within me, the absolute subjectivity of all, told me, God is, I am, dude, don't put it in your pocket. And yet I did, and now it's missing. Now I could have freaked out in that moment, went back looking for it in a frenzy. I didn't. I was on a bit of a schedule to go pick up this dinner. I wanted to get it while it was hot. And I stopped in that moment and I said, okay, Keith, I like to speak to myself by name. Keith, big deal. You lost a debit card. You can replace it. Nothing's going to happen. This is a crappy little thing that's happened, but you've set the intention for good in your life. You teach this. You've been working on a talk where the spiritual mind treatment of God is, I am, it is at play. Open yourself up to good right now. And I did that right before I crossed Palm Drive, for those of you that know it, on the bridle path of Beverly Hills. And off I crossed and kept walking, and 3 blocks later, basically, a man and a dog is walking towards me. It's an adorable little dog, and Sweeney's getting all excited. And as we come close together, Sweeney gets all excited and goes after the dog, and the dog comes at her all playful, and this whole kerfuffle ensues, but out of playfulness and barking and jumping and lots of energy. And I'm attending to my four-legged spiritual offspring to make sure that the ropes didn't get tied up and nothing bad was happening. And all of a sudden, I look up, and this man is standing there with his dog. And before I know it, I catch myself saying to him, "Oh my God, you have the most beautiful, piercing blue eyes I've ever seen in my life." And it totally freaked him out. I knew it did, as it would most, totally threw him off his game. And we entered into these really meaningless conversation at that point. And I realized I had thrown him off his game. And I said to him, "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off your game in that moment. And I didn't mean to embarrass you if that was the case." And he goes, "Well, you did. Well, you did." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry once again." And the meaningless conversation continued. And I noticed in that moment that there was no desire for either one of us to turn and walk away. And so I looked at him and I said to him, "Well, once again, I apologize for throwing you off your game." To which his response was, "Well, you did once again, and may I say to you, you have the most beautiful eyes." And it turned into this moment of zzz, all happening, and before I knew it, walked away with a date planned. Now, I share that with you all just as a reminder for you, as it was for me, to remember that it is already in play. Our good is already at play. And it's up to you and I to open ourselves up to that. And once we do, to then say thank you to the universe. To know that the purpose of spiritual mind treatment is for us to align our consciousness with the good that already exists in our universe right now by means of us. And our role is to tend to our thinking, to tend to our intentions, to tend to our actions, to tend to our interactions, and even our reactions. And then to say thank you and release it out into the universe. That you and I on this journey of spiritual awakening by finding personal self-empowerment is to tend to our spiritual health and then to be open. Spiritual health, let's remember, is the path to inner peace regardless of the turmoil around you. Whether that turmoil is something going on in our health, something going on in our finances, something that is going on in regards to loneliness, or something that can go regardless that can happen in a very moment when you throw somebody off their game by telling them they have beautiful blue eyes. It's to anchor into that peace that's within us, remembering peace, purposeful energy activates conscious evolution, and we're here on this planet as awakened metaphysicians to live from a place of conscious evolution, meaning, as Barbara Marx Hubbard tells us, to live from our essence, not our ego, to open up to the infusion of energy of the divine that is within us, waiting for us to use it in a new way. And as we do so, going deeper and deeper and deeper within through the act of meditation, of quietness, of knowing that we know, of trusting the journey that we're on, of remembering the first time we sang "Let There Be Peace on Earth," of remembering the first time we heard about spiritual mind treatment, of remembering the treatments that have been made manifest in our life, of remembering the first time that we heard "God is, I am." That it's through those remembrances that we rise up into a new framework of mind. And so today, let's tune in to asking ourselves, what do I believe? As both as what is possible. What do I believe is impossible? And then to ask ourselves, well, what is my experience of life right now? Does it require a tune-up? And the answer is yes. Why? Because it's always requiring a tune-up. That's the way life is. And we can do that without judging ourselves. And so let's ask ourselves today, August 8th in the year 2021, what do I desire to experience in a new way today? And then, remember, as Dr. David Walker used to tell us all the time, don't tell God how big your problems are. Tell your problems how big your God is. And then use that power, that God, to remember that you're beautiful, you're radiant, you're gorgeous, you're elegant, you're divine, you're joyful, you're complete, you're whole, just as you are. And so, as we all continue to walk these God days of summer, let's do so from an awakened awareness of who we are and use the tool of spiritual mind treatment in a new way. God is, I am, you are in play as a divine being right now. Woo, God, thank you. And I release that, knowing that today is the day that we grow and grow and grow again. Namaste. And so it is. Thank you. James, I'm going to bring you back.
Hey, hey. Man, I can't believe how perfectly that message fits with every song we've chosen, and we didn't even plan it. It's insane. Hope you enjoyed this last one. I took a plane over the stars. It didn't get me very far. Oh, but all my problems still follow me. And I flew to the moon. It wasn't far enough away from you. And all my problems still follow me. Every night I close my eyes, all my troubles fade. Every morning when I rise, I'm sleeping in this bed I made. One million times inside of my mind, oh, I have justified, baby, but all my problems still follow me. And I discovered a way to cleverly avoid blame, but all my problems still follow me. But not every night I close my eyes, all my troubles fade. Every morning when I rise, I'm sleeping in this bed I made. Can't outrun the pain, yeah. Should've faced these demons as they came. What I wouldn't trade, oh, to make some room in this bed that I made. But that every night I close my eyes, all my troubles fade. Every morning when I rise, I'm sleeping in this bed. I'm sleeping in this bed. Oh, I'm sleeping in this bed I made. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love that. I'm sleeping in this bed that I made, which is such a metaphor, right? Sorry, I
Right.
was bouncing in my chair. As you can tell, I'm all animated today. I, what a great metaphor, right?
It's crazy how much it lined up. You really, yeah, the decisions you make affect your life, and it can be such a powerful tool.
Well, and the lining up is also a metaphor for life. It's all lined up. All we have to do is open up and receive,
Yes.
right? So, and trust. I trust the music selections that you make. So I trust you infinitely. As you know, we've had these conversations, so I just love it. So glad it worked. And so what a great prompt for you and I as we share with our community, and for such a prompt for them to open up today for the alignment of good that's already there in your life.
Amen. Love it.
Right. So wonderful. Thank you so much, James.
Thank you.
So I'm going to put on the screen, if I can tune it. Not if I can. Let me get to that part of the today. We have the opportunity, as we do every Sunday, the next part of our service. Sorry, I've had significantly less caffeine today than normal, but I got a great night's sleep, sleeping in my bed that I made with the air conditioning on. And so today we have the opportunity to support our community through the act of conscious giving. And I will put on the screen the methods to do that. And I just want to take a moment and to honor all of you that consciously give of your good to yourself by means of supporting our beloved community known as the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. And so please know that all is appreciated and welcomed as you step into a greater expression of good in your life through the act of conscious giving. And so I'm going to put it on the screen right now. And so the methods to do that are as follows. You can go to our website, csl-la.org, and click on Donate, and that will take you through the electronic process to donate, or do the same through our app in the App Store, and that's Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles, or you can mail in a check. Our address is 1200 North La Brea Avenue, West Hollywood, California, 90038, or my phone number is on the screen if you'd like to call me for any questions or comments, for me to handle that for you personally. James will come back again and sing our song, Love is My Decision, as we take a moment to support our community financially. And please feel free to sing along with James. It's a call and response song.
Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. But once I decide to change my mind, Source will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision. Right here, right now.
And so I affirm for each one of us that love is our decision. Love as the self-givingness of spirit whose desires to create more of itself out of itself. And the only way it can do that is through you and through me. And so we remember that God is I am. The God that we speak of is abundant, prosperous by nature. So therefore, being individualized expressions of it, we too are the same. And so as we open up to that in a new way today, we give. As our beloved founding minister, Dr. David Walker, used to say, one can't give with a clenched fist. And so we give today as we open our hands through the act of financial conscious giving, propagating good in this community, knowing that as we give, it returns to us multiplied abundantly. It's the way it works. And so we say thank you for the journey. We say thank you for the continuation of good. We say thank you for being one with the abundance of life. We let it be as we say together, amen, and so it is. A big thank you to all of you that were here today, and a big thank you to those of you that are new that have joined us today. Please share this website and the Sunday morning celebrations with your friends. We would love to see the numbers that are here on Sunday mornings grow while we celebrate each and every one of you in deep appreciation for being here, as well as those of you on Facebook Live, as well as joining us later on a YouTube channel. A big thank you to our musician, Donald James Harper, this morning for bringing his light and his innovative nature and his creativity to us, and his spin and unique approach to each song that he sings, and how it touches my heart, and I know it does each and every one of yours. A big thank you to Travis Smith, our audio technician, who's always in the background taking care of us, as well as Robert Hensley, our administrative assistant and social media guru, who keeps us live and happening on Facebook Live here as well. I'd like to remind you that Wednesday morning, our weekly midweek morning meditation takes place on Wednesdays at 8:30 a.m. Would love to have you join us and invite some new people in. We had some people that joined us this week that we haven't seen in a while that were so fantastic to have their presence on that morning meditation. Don't have to gussy up. It is on Zoom. You can keep your cameras turned off and just listen to it in an audio fashion. That's fine. And then those go into our YouTube channel if you'd like to listen to past ones. You can sign up for our weekly e-newsletter that goes out first part of the week. If you don't receive that, that goes out first part of the week and shares with you what's going on in our teaching, philosophy, faith, and way of life. I'd like to ask you to follow us on social media, Facebook Live, Facebook, CSL-LA, or Center for Spiritual Living, I believe is what we're called there. Our Instagram post that Robert has as well as that, and our YouTube channel, and also sign up and share with me numbers of anyone that you'd like to add to the text New Thought for the Day that goes out each morning at 7:30. That's it. We're wrapping it up. I know that you're all having a fantastic God days of summer, as well as dog days of summer. And so we're going to close with a meditation. If you're joining us through Zoom, you can stay online after we say goodbye to those on Facebook Live, and we can turn our cameras on and have a brief hello to each other. With that said, let's close out. So let's just each take a deep breath in and exhale. And close our eyes if that feels appropriate. And hear anew, God is. Let that spiritual truth wash over us. And just feeling that power and presence reminds us of the additional spiritual truth, which is I am. And so we recognize the gift that has been provided to us to be a unique expression, a stamp of individuality, if you will, that Spirit has placed upon itself by means of each one of us. And so we then open ourselves up to good in a new way, however that may be made manifest in our life. We get to decide what framework or element of life that's in. But we tune into knowing it's already in play, unencumbered, molecular by nature, transforming itself into form or experience already. So we have faith that this is happening. And for this and more, we say thank you, remembering that gratitude is one of the most transformative qualities of life. And so with deep trust and knowing, because we've experienced it before, the principle of life is doing its part through us, we release any attachment to this intention that we've set and this treatment that we've done in mind, this realigning to our spiritual truth. And as we release, we see ourselves taking the next step in the journey, opening our arms, opening our mind, opening our heart, ready to embrace the good being made manifest through us. It is in play, moving towards us, one step, one thought, one action, one reaction and interaction at a time. That's how it works. So we see ourselves embracing this good, whatever it may be, whatever name we call it. And doing so not with a clenched hug or clenched fist, but doing so with a lightness of heart, ready to release it when it no longer is that vibrational fit. Not out of fear that there's not more to come, but out of faith that the good itself is unlimited. It's infinite. It's waiting to express itself through us more and more and more and more and more and more, and so we let it. What a gift. What a blessing. What an opportunity. So we let it be and say together, oh, amen. And so it